There is the discussion that is still going on, but apparently is coming to an end in the world of sports. Nico has made a decision. Not Nico Harrison. All right, not him. Every time I'm going to try this out again. Nico.
I stopped saying it.
Iamaleava.
Damn.
Has apparently, according
People
to
have
reports,
tried to rename him "I'm leaving you."
and
For some strange reason, I could say that way easier than what the real way of saying it is.
He is. Reportedly is going to be a UCLA Bruin, and apparently this according to Colin Cowherd, who sent this tweet out yesterday, that the family is still saying this is not about money. It had nothing to do with money. It was all about the Tennessee Volunteers offense, and so he finds himself reportedly in Westwood. He will be a UCLA Bruin, but again, it's got nothing to do with money at all whatsoever, and definitely not the $4 million that was reported they were asking for when he was making $2 million and change already with Tennessee set for this upcoming year.
Oh, so he's going to play for free. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
He's going to go there and be closer to home and all that?
That's not money.
Well,
just so everybody knows.
He ain't playing for free. But he is playing for less money, and the taxes are higher. So there's that.
Yeah. It was a losing proposition all the way around. Not only would he made more money, to your point too, with the taxes, but now he's in a different system, not on a team that's as talented. I mean, if you look at Tennessee last year, which qualified for the college football playoff, and by the way, mind you, and this is not to be a slight on Nico Iamaleava, but there's been a string of quarterbacks who have got drafted, who've been put up big numbers there. He did not play that well. That was a defensive-led team. That was a team that could tote the rock, too. I would say if you're looking at one of the weaker parts of their team, it was the inconsistency in the passing game. So not only are there those kind of struggles from that, but now he goes to a lesser team. He's not getting paid as much. And he's going to be having an uphill battle playing in a conference where, at least they were one of the top teams in the SEC. That's not the case for UCLA. They kind of feel at times like they're a bit of a doormat. Now they turned things around second half of last season, but it's going to be an uphill battle in so many different ways for him. And it's unfortunate. And whether or not his team, whether it's his family, whether it's his agent wants to admit it, this was an absolute disaster. And it's probably a good thing for a lot of other players out there in college football that can hopefully appreciate the opportunities they've gotten, understand that the grass is not always greener, and try to, what's the saying there, LaVar? Be where your feet are, or stand where your feet are, or whatever.
Something to that effect. Yeah,
something
be
like
present.
That.
Being present is being where your feet are. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, why try to be somewhere where you're not? Like,
be at where your feet at.
Be at where your feet at. See, that's what happens when you take time off.
What?
You know what I mean? You get rusty with your deliveries.
What are you talking
They don't
about?
come out as smooth. Then they sound a little bit kind of
That's
corny.
not a real thing? That was on a No
Be
Fear
at where
shirt
your
I
feet
saw.
at. All right. All I'm going to say is I'm happy for Coach Foster because while people may rain down on the Nico I'm leaving you parade, on his camp, the kid can play ball. And people can have their opinions about him and how good and how well he can play ball, but the guy can play he can play football. And he was dealing at times last year for Tennessee and probably would have had another good season under them this season if he were still to be there. Now you go into a program where they have needed to be able to get a break in order to have the opportunity to get a player of his caliber, wanting to come there and play a position of such the magnitude of what the quarterback's position is. So, opportunity created or circumstance created an opportunity for UCLA. UCLA is not a major player in the NIL space. You're not going to get UCLA for academic purposes, just as well as just available funding for NIL for football. You're just not going to get elite level offers, elite level money. In fact, even prior to NIL, you're not going to get you're only going to get a certain level of player because of the academic requirements that they place on the guys that they bring in there. So it's kind of like guys go to USC that don't go to UCLA. And if you understand like the politics of what goes on at UCLA, you'd understand like it's kind of like they run things almost like a Ivy League type level school academically. So I think it's a great gift for Deshaun Watson. I don't know how.
Deshaun Foster.
Excuse me, Deshaun Foster. Jeez. Where am I at right now? Thank you for that save, Q. I think it's a great gift for Coach Foster and damn. Keep him away from the towels. I think this is a great gift.
He's got
other things to worry about. Yeah, he does. But I think this is a great gift for UCLA. And if they were going to be a pretty good team going into this season, I think you can actually say, based upon the circumstances that Nico, I'm leaving you, is living under now, I think they're going to get his best version because he's going to be on, he's going to be on guard to everything that's taking place. There's going to be a lot of criticism, a lot of scrutiny, a lot of coverage that comes his way because what he did kind of transcends just playing the game. It has opened the conversation to larger pieces of what's going on in college football and sports altogether. So I think that it's a advantageous opportunity for Nico to try to redeem himself and maybe repair his image with what's taken place as of late. And it's a great opportunity for UCLA to be a better program with what would be considered to be a top elite type of quarterback on their roster.
And it's not going to cost him a whole lot, apparently.
Well, they got it. They got him on the cheap. They got him. Was like 250 less or something like that. Like they got him on the discount level. What was it? Like 150?
It's almost. The figure I saw was 1.75, and he was scheduled to make 2.6. So he's almost $1 million short of what he would have made, and that's not including, to your earlier point, taxes.
Yep.
By the way, Nico was like maybe top 10 in the SEC last year. Like as far as yards and all that. Again, going back to the point, he really didn't play overly well. Now he's joining an offense in UCLA that was 126th in scoring last year. They were 107th in the country in sacks allowed. So the protection, and I know that was like an issue I think that came up in some of these reports too, is that, hey, it's not an NFL system. It's like, well, you knew that on your way in. Joe Milton got drafted. Hendon Hooker got drafted. There's been other quarterbacks who've gone to Tennessee and gotten drafted. So it's not like that's held against those quarterbacks. If that was your concern or that's part of the rationale for why you left, you've gotten guys to the NFL level and they've put up good stats. And mind you, there's plenty of other quarterbacks that have played in systems that aren't NFL systems and have also gotten drafted. So if that was part of the rationale, it doesn't make any sense. And again, going back to the initial point, he hasn't even performed to a point where you felt confident about him being able to go somewhere else, learn a new system, learn new chemistry, develop all those things. And now he's doing it with lesser pieces around him in a league that arguably you'd say they're at the bottom of the league or one of the teams at the bottom. So I feel bad for the young man because at some point you've got to make your own decisions in life. And this is one where I don't know who was in his ear. And I know that someone made some anonymous report or someone close to the family, whatever, I believe on Front Office Sports, which if that's even credible. But the truth of the matter is he should have stood up and said, I'm good. Like my payday's coming after this year when I go to the NFL. And unfortunately now it's like, we'll see how this year goes, but maybe he's a couple years now from leaving and be able to go to get drafted in the NFL. Who knows how this whole thing's going to shake out.
So he's in a worse situation, and he took, like a $700,000 pay cut in less than a week. And now he's just got to, now he's just got to kind of, it feels like with anything new, there's got to be something that's the example of what not to do, and he's the example of what not to do. Like he's the one that, all right, now everybody kind of has an understanding. And I do wonder if there's probably coaches and programs that are pointing to this going, hey guys, just so you know, like this is how things could turn really badly for you. You could go from an SEC quarterback at a great program who was a playoff team a year ago to UCLA like that.
This is limited to such a small, minute number of players for this to even apply to. This is not going to apply to anyone else but QBs at major universities and receivers. That's about it. That's who this is limited to. You're not going to see it take place with anybody else. You could be as gifted a football player on the defensive side of the ball. It's not going to happen. You could be as gifted as you'd like to be on the offensive line. It's not going to happen. Running back, same thing. Tight end, forget about it. If you're a quarterback at an SEC school, a Big Ten school, maybe in some instances an ACC school, you have the ability to possibly push the envelope on these types of conversations. Not saying that negotiations don't exist for the other positions. It's just not the same. And I think one thing that we got to make sure we're clear on in this scenario, and I was listening to Kurt Herbstreit and what he had to say about NIL with Pat McAfee, and I thought it was very, very well put and thought out, is that this is turning into negotiations against schools and players. In this instance, you're looking at Nico getting into a negotiation between Tennessee and himself, when in reality, NIL is in place for you to benefit with your name, your image, and your likeness. That's getting money through your collective. That's doing appearances. That's making. I mean, I'm just saying that's what it was.
This is why I wouldn't include the collectives as part of it. I think the collectives are part of the issue, because the collectives, by and large, how they've operated, are groups of boosters who are essentially taking private money and being able to, help compensate and create opportunities for players in that fashion. And they're doing it for the university because there wasn't pay for play.
Sure.
Or pay to play, which the truth is like that's what it's always been since it's been enacted. And even before that, when teams and boosters were paying kids under the table, it's always been pay to play. Like, if we want to take NIL a step further, what's always bothered me about it is if you're not playing, you're not getting paid. So even if you want to try to say, well, it's really about marketing dollars, right? It's really about those opportunities to promote brands or do commercials or do social media postings and do appearances and all that. Does anyone care about you if you're not playing?
Right.
If you're not out there performing, if you're not one of the best players? No. So in essence, it's always really been about getting paid because you play. But we created this world in which we had to create loopholes and other ways in which we could find ways of, getting players money that was within the rules of, what was passed by the Supreme Court. I've said this and will always say this. NIL has never been sustainable the way it was created. And the way it's been implemented wasn't the initial purpose. But the problem with the initial purpose is you're kind of putting the cart before the horse. It always should have been a rev share. It always should have been the TV money that these conferences and schools were getting were shared with those student athletes who are the ones actually earning it. And then you could have implemented NIL and you could have said these marketing dollars from name your apparel company, Under Armour, Nike, whoever.
It's creative.
Or name whatever, a sports drink, whatever else it is. Then that comes as part of it because that's the professional model. Mm-hmm. Look at the NFL, look at the NBA, look at all these other professional leagues. You are paid by your organization. And then you have all that as kind of your ancillary income that comes off of that. But don't get it twisted. It is about your ability to play. And that's one of the reasons why it's always been backwards. It's never made sense. And it's why it's been a little bit of a chaotic mess too, is the essence of why we're compensating student athletes in the first place is all about their performance. It's all about their play. Well, if that's the case, then make it a structure that actually makes sense and is lasting. And you have examples of that at every professional level.
I just think, it's funny. Coincidentally, we were going over Man's, situation just yesterday.
What up, man?
It's like 3 contracts, bro. 3 contracts that you got to go through. 3 separate entities of contracts that you have to go through as it applies to these NIL, or, well, not even just NIL, but just the way the kids are compensated there's like 3 different agreements, and one is the collective, another is this entity, another is the school entity, and it's interesting to me, like looking at how all of it is structured. Are you really supposed to point and aim your frustration or your, I guess, what your demands are, what your expectations are to be compensated at the team itself, at the head coach, at Tennessee or wherever it is that you're at? Because to me, again, it comes back down to, with these blurred lines of what this is all representation of, what does NIL really represent? Because at the end of the day, if we're talking apples, if it's an apples to apples conversation, then you got to talk about compensating the player, like Q just said. You're paying based off of what you're generating off of the TV deals and stuff like that. There's nothing that comes out that, like, in a pro contract that talks about name, image, and likeness. You do that with the Players Association. You sign a group licensing agreement with the Players Association. That's how you leverage your name, image, and likeness. It's a different entity altogether. So the blurred lines that have been created, and I think that are exposed here in this situation in particular, there's no reason for him to have taken a hard line stance, like, I'm not practicing, I'm not coming unless y'all pay me more money. Sure, the collectives are in contact with the university, and the universities are in contact with the collectives, and this is a way for them to be able to compensate the players. But ultimately, if we're looking at it for the true essence of what NIL has created as it applies to today, right now, you're monetizing the value of your name, your image, and your likeness. So even if it's coming from a collective in the sense of, we're able to pay them to be a part of our team, but you're going to do X amount of appearances. You're going to do signings. You're going to do things that support what we're doing to build this program. Bottom line is that there needs to be a separation, and there needs to be an understanding of what the business of what you are as a player to the university and what you are as an entity and a brand, all on its own, as in a name, your image, and your likeness. There needs to be a very clear understanding and determination or I guess not determination, but description of what each one of those represent. Because I think this right here, this clearly shows that there is not a separation, and there's how do you read in between the lines of where the collectives and how you're getting compensated for your name, image, and likeness runs and bleeds into who you are as an athlete and a student at the university that you're at.
It's
which the lion's share, by the way, will come from the revenue share. That's where most of the kids will make the majority of the money. Now, if the collectives exist and they really feel like they want a high star kid or a big performer that transfers or something, they might be able to come in there with some sort of whatever package and marketing or whatever else they want to do. But the reality is, it should be that they're getting compensated the most from their school based on the revenue share. Like, that's the setup. That's how this should work moving forward. Any other model is not really sustainable. And it doesn't really make sense either when you're thinking about it. Is any other athlete getting paid more from their marketing deal as opposed to what they're making to actually play their sport?
No. Maybe Travis Hunter. Maybe Travis Hunter. Maybe Shedeur.
He won't once he's the number 2 overall pick, right?
Correct. Right. Correct. Yeah. It's sad, man. I think it's sad. It's a lot of moving parts to it. But hey, he found a place to go play, and
damn right.
He's still going to get some cash out of the situation. I don't